morning, everybody. Myself, I'm K. Surya Rao. Today, we are going to discuss on the topic emergency provisions in Indian Constitution. Without any further ado, we'll start the topic. Before we discuss the emergency provisions of Indian Constitution, why would anyone in Indian Constitution we have the provisions, proclamation, impact on central and state relations, and impact on fundamental rights? Why do these during these emergency provisions these things are getting impacted? Okay, see, emergency by the name itself, emergency signifies something to do with the urgency or some with this special circumstances, which good or bad. But in this situation, the emergency of Indian constitution, the emergency by itself is about a bad circumstance is about to happen. Okay. In this, the security, the unity, integrity, and sovereignty of India is getting is about to get impacted or affected. That is the reason we have these provisions relating towards emergency. So our forefathers of Indian Constitution, especially B.R. Ambedkar, had foreseen these things about to happen. So he laid some provisions. Okay. In in such circumstances of Indian political system, there is a need for a special arrangement or special powers to deal with such kind of situations. So we have taken these emergency provisions from 1935 Indian Act. We have taken the emergency provisions from 1935 Act and curtailing of fundamental rights during emergency. These provisions are taken from German Constitution, German, or also called as Weimar. Students who are preparing for the state PCS have to pay utmost focus on these two things, because emergency provisions are taken from 1935 Act. Okay, but curtailing of fundamental rights during emergency, these are taken from the German or the Weimar Constitution. Okay, all right. See, Indian model is a quasi-federal. Okay, we all know that Indian model is a quasi-federal. Okay, it slightly leans towards the center. Okay, but during emergency, this federal structure, okay, this quasi, if I meant to say, is the quasi federal structure, it completely tilts towards unitary. You know why? Why would federal structure would convert into unitary? To take timely decisions, to deal with the situations at that point. The Indian quasi-federal system constitution directly converts to the unitary. See, consider the constitution of US. Okay, it is a federal system. At any point, that federal structure is so tight. Okay, that mode of federalism does not change, does not disintegrate at any point. But Indian, okay, if you come to the Indian constitution, the federal structure, quasi federal structure, completely turns into the unitary. See, like what Ambedkar said, all the federal systems, including American, are placed in tight mode of federalism. The tight mode of federalism. No matter what the circumstances, it cannot change its form and shape. Okay, it can never be unitary. On the other hand, the Constitution of India is both unitary as well as federal, according to the requirements of the time and circumstances. See, here he is telling about the Indian Constitution. Okay, Constitution of India is unitary as well as federal, during the requirements of the time and circumstances. In normal times, it is framed as a federal system, but in the times of emergency, it is designed to make through its a unitary system. This is what Mr. Ambedkar said. Okay. See, US is completely a federal system. Okay, at no point it would become a unitary. But in India, he has foreseen the things about to happen. Okay, India is known for its communal rights, and we have a security issues with the neighbors. So, keeping these things as a in his as a point, he considered these emergency provisions might have used in the future. So, emergency provisions have been based in Indian Constitution. Reasons for incorporating emergency provisions. See, reasons for incorporating emergency provisions. Like I said, to meet the exceptional or threatful situation. If Indian security is about to disrupt, okay, threatened, okay, this is the exceptional point, right? To safeguard the sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of the country and the democratical political system of the constitution. Okay, as an independent sovereign country, we need to be always ready to protect ourselves from the to be unity, integrity, security, and sovereignty. Okay, it has been incorporated to change the Indian political system from federal to unitary as per the situation and the requirements of the country. Right. So these are the reasons. Okay, see. So what happens during emergency? What happens during emergency? During emergency, the central government becomes all powerful and the states go into the total control of the center. So during emergency, the central government becomes all powerful. Okay, like I said, the federal structure, the quasi-federal structure of the Indian constitution complete turns to the unitary. Okay, it converts the federal structure in unitary one without a formal amendment of the constitution. See, there is no need to have amendment. Okay, just through some resolution, we can easily pass this emergency. These kinds of transformation of political system from federal during normal ties to unitary during emergency is a unique feature of the Indian constitution. Okay, like I said, this is provisions are taken from 1935 Act and fundamental curtailing the fundamental rights from the German. Right. See, emergency provisions under Indian Constitution. Emergency provisions are under Indian Constitution. First thing is national emergency. Okay, state emergency or presidential rule. Okay, financial emergency. See, these articles 352, 356, 360 are very, very important. Students have to remember these things. Okay, these things are very useful in state PCS as well as the Union Public Service Commission. See, first thing is national emergency. Okay, like I said, we have three types of emergencies. First thing is national emergency. I see state emergency, which is also called as a presidential rule. Third thing, financial emergency. Okay. See, first thing, national emergency. National emergency can be caused by externally or internally. Okay. War. Suppose if some country, like X country, maybe in Pakistan or China, is about to wage war against India. Okay. That is, time to declare national emergency. External aggression. When our security, our sovereignty is about to be disturbed. Okay. That is an external aggression. Right. Armored rebellion. Okay, if someone, okay, rebel against Indian government with arms, okay, that is also of a national emergency. Earlier, armed rebellion, it was called as internal disturbance. Later, it was changed by 44th Amendment Act of 1978. Okay. It was this internal disturbance. It was misused by late Srimati Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. So after the change of government, Morarji Desai government, it was replaced with armed rebellion. Next, see grounds of declaration. Okay, grounds of declaration. Like I said, what are the grounds to be emergency to be declared? Okay. So as we discussed, there are three reasons. One is war. Second is external aggression. Third is armed rebellion. Okay, see grounds. Under Article 352, the president can declare national emergency when the security of India or part or any part of India it is threatened by war or external aggression or armed rebellion. Point. Second point. The president can declare national emergency even before the actual occurrence of war or armed rebellion or external aggression. See, students have to need to focus here. See, sometimes emergency is declared after the war is declared. Okay, the war is happening, emergency can be declared. Even the war is about to happen, okay, or the external aggression is about to happen, the president has all the power to declare emergency even before the war about to happen. Okay? During war or aggression, he is about to declare emergency. Even before it was about to happen, president can declare emergency. Okay. When national emergency is declared on the grounds of war, or external aggression is called external emergency. Okay. On the other hand, when it's declared on the ground of armed rebellion, it is internal emergency. Okay. So under emergencies, we have two kinds, sorry, three kinds. First is, okay, declare on the grounds of war. Second is external aggression. Okay, these two things are happening from externally, okay, from externally, so from outside. So these are external emergency. Okay, on the other hand, when it is declared internally, okay, from inside, okay, when the Indian government was rebelled with okay, with arms, then it's armed rebellion. Okay, it is called internal emergency. Next, grounds of declaration. See, this term armed rebellion is inserted from 44th Amendment. Before this term, it is internal emergency. Okay, internal or not, it is internal emergency. Internal emergency. As I told, till 1978, before 1978, it was called as internal emergency. Okay, later, the 44th Amendment, 1978, it was replaced with armed rebellion. Okay, only in the year 1975, the national emergency was declared on the grounds of internal disturbances. See, based on the grounds of war, okay, emergency was declared twice. Okay, in 1962 and 1971, but only in the year 1975, national emergency was declared on the grounds of internal disturbances. Okay, that the 38th Amendment Act of 1975 Amendment Act made the declaration of national emergency immune from the judicial review. Okay, but these provisions were subsequently deleted by 44th Amendment Act of 1978. See, who declares? Who declares emergency? Of course, president declares the emergency. By whom? Okay, who recommends to declare emergency to the president? Before 1978, Prime Minister himself or herself can recommend president to declare emergency. Okay, but it was misappropriated. Okay, so by 44th Amendment of 1978, a lot of change happened, a lot of amendments happened through 44th Amendment that, the declaration emergency, okay, can be recommended only through the cabinet to the president. Then only he can, recommend emergency. Okay, and one more thing, 30th Amendment Act of 1975. Okay, it was amended that declaration of emergency, okay, is immune from judicial review. That means what? Supreme Court or any courts cannot, does the scrutiny on these things. Okay, but obviously through the 44th Amendment Act, it is also a change that it will be scrutinized under judicial review. Okay, next. In the Minerva Mills case, 1980 is a very important case. A lot of things happened in this case. Okay. Supreme Court held that proclamation of national emergency can be challenged in any court on the ground of malified or the declaration was based wholly extraneous and irrelevant facts and is based absurd or perverse. Okay. So in the Minerva Mills case, the Supreme Court declared that national emergency, okay, can be challenged in any court if it is declared on the ground of malified and the declaration was wholly extraneous, irrelevant. Okay, there is no need at that time. If emergency was declared, okay, it can be questioned or challenged in the court. Next, see, till now we have discussed the provisions. Okay, now we'll discuss the proclamation. Okay, I mean approval. Okay, parliamentary approval and duration. The proclamation of emergency must be approved by both the houses of the parliament within 1 month of date of issue. However, if the proclamation of emergency is issued at a time when the Lok Sabha has been dissolved, the resolution takes place during the period of 1 month without providing the proclamation, then the proclamation survives until 30 days. Okay, from the first sitting of Lok Sabha after the constitution provided the Rajya Sabha has been a meantime approved it. See, first thing first. First thing is a cabinet should recommend to the president to declare emergency. First thing. Okay. But that proclamation of emergency must be approved by both the houses of the parliament within 1 month. Okay. Within 1 month, it has to be approved by both the houses. First thing. Cabinet has to recommend declaration of emergency to the president. So within 1 month, the declared emergency must be approved by both the houses. Okay. So what if the government Lok Sabha is dissolved or not in session? In the meantime, Rajya Sabha can approve it. Okay. In meantime, Rajya Sabha can approve the proclamation. Lok Sabha can approve it. Okay. At that time, during the time of Rajya Sabha approval, Lok Sabha was not in session, or it got dissolved. Okay. After Lok Sabha has formed, okay, within 1 month of the first sitting of Lok Sabha, after its reconstitution, okay, session has started. Lok Sabha session has started. So within 30 days, okay, Lok Sabha must, okay, approve it. Lok Sabha must approve it. See, I'm again repeating it. First thing, cabinet has to recommend emergency to the president. Okay, so within 30 days, that approval has to be passed by both the houses within 1 month. So if Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha is dissolved or is not in session, okay, what we can do? Okay, in meanwhile, Rajya Sabha has to provide approval to this emergency. Then, if once the Lok Sabha has session has started or formed, Lok Sabha has formed within 30 days, the emergency must be passed by Lok Sabha. All right. Next, parliamentary approval and duration. If approved by both the houses, the emergency continues for 6 months. Okay, and can be extended to be indefinite period with the approval of the parliament every 6 months. Once the emergency is approved by both the houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, okay, it continues for 6 months only. Okay, only 6 months. If it need to be extended to indefinite period with the approval of the parliament every 6 months. Okay, till 6 months, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha approved, the emergency continues for 6 months. Okay, 6 months duration is finished. Okay. Again, if we need to increase the time period for the emergency, again it has to be passed by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay. For every 6 months, the approval has to be passed. Okay. Next. Every resolution approving the proclamation of emergency or its continuation must be passed by the parliament by special majority. We have three kinds of majorities: simple majority, special majority with the half of the states approved. Okay. Here the approval of emergency has to be passed with special majority. Okay, very important thing. Next, revocation. Oh, okay. Once the emergency was, declared, for every 6 months, it has to be approved by the both the houses of the parliament. Okay. Once the emergency was finished, revocation. I mean, removal of the emergency. What it can be, how it can be happened. Okay. President must revoke a proclamation if the Lok Sabha passes a resolution disapproving its continuation. President must revoke a proclamation if the Lok Sabha passes a resolution disapproving its continuation. To proclaim, to pass the emergency, both the houses has to be pass the resolution, I mean approval of the emergency with its special majority. But here to remove, revocation of the proclamation, only one house is enough. That to Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha. There is no need for Rajya Sabha. Only Lok Sabha has a resolution disapproving continuation. This safeguard was introduced by 44th Amendment Act. Okay. But within this Lok Sabha, there are two cases. 1/10 of the total members of the Lok Sabha has to given a written notice to the Speaker or to the President. Okay. If it is in session, 1/10 of the Lok Sabha members have to give to the written notice to the Speaker. If it is in session, if it is not in session, it directly given to the President. Okay. First thing first. Next thing. A special sitting of the House should be laid within 14 days for the purpose of considering the resolution disapproving the continuation of the proclamation. A special sitting of the House should be laid within 14 days for the purpose of considering as a resolution disapproving the continuation of the proclamation. Okay, next. A resolution of disapproval is different from the resolution approving the continuation of the proclamation in following two respects. As I told you, resolution of approval is different from the resolution of disapproval. Resolution of approval needed in both houses, where the resolution of disapproval only Lok Sabha is enough. Okay. The first one, I mean the approval, is required to be based on the Lok Sabha. Only when the second one needs to be passed by the both the houses of the parliament. Okay, see, disapproval. Here, disapproval, the first one, is required to pass only by the Lok Sabha. Okay, disapproval. But to approve, we need to have the both houses to be passed. Excuse me. The first one is to be adopted by simple majority. Okay, disapproval. Approval, special majority. Disapproval, simple majority. Okay. For the approval, we need a special majority. Okay. For the disapproval, we need a simple majority. For the approval, we need both the houses of the parliament. For the disapproval, we just need only Lok Sabha. Okay. Next. So provision, we have discussed provisions, proclamation, revocation. Now we discuss on the effects of the central and state relations. Okay. As I told you, India is a quasi-federal. During emergencies, completely turns towards a unitary. Okay. Effects on the center-state relations. Okay. Executive. Center becomes entitled to give executive directions to the state in on any matter. Center becomes entitled to give executive directions in any matter. Okay. To the state. See, during emergency, okay, it completely Indian constitution completely turns into quasi-federal, complete turns into unitary. That means what? Okay, unitary becomes Indian government. I mean, central government becomes all powerful. It is entitled to give to executive directions on any state. Why? See, why is it becoming unitary? Okay, we don't know the situation. Okay, how we don't know the situation, how bad the situation is. To take a president decisions in timely manner, to take a decision, decisions in timely manner. So the unitary, the central government all become a unitary. Okay, central becomes entitled to give executive direction to the state on any matter, and legislative. The parliament becomes empowered to make any laws on any subject mentioned in the state list. Okay, we have three lists: central, concurrent, state. Okay, center can only make laws which are related to the central list. Okay, and state can make laws only related to the state list. Okay, both can make laws on the concurrent list. But right now, during emergency time, central can make any laws. Okay, on any list. Executive, it's all become center can gives any executive direction to the state. Second, on legislative thing, Parliament becomes empowered to make laws on any subject mentioned in the state list, and the president can issue ordinances on the state subjects also. If the parliament is not in session, okay, the parliament becomes all powerful, makes in any subject on the state list. The president can issue ordinances on the state subject. Also, if the parliament is not in session, the laws made by the state subject by the parliament become inoperative in 6 months after the emergency has ceased in the operation. See, like I told you, now the government become a unitary. Okay, it can give any executive directions. It can make any laws. Okay, on the state list. But till when the emergency has ceased to operate, okay, war has finished, or external aggregation has stopped, everything has stopped. Okay, then there is no need to central government to still have the powers of the state government. Okay, so at that point, what or laws they have made by the central government, by parliament, they are ceased to operate by the 6 months. Okay, if the emergency is stopped today, from now till 6 months, the laws are applicable. After 6 months, the laws are ceased to operate. Okay. Next, financial. President can modify the constitutional direction distribution of revenue between the center and the state. Every year, every 5 years, the taxes are be distributed between the center and the state. Okay, accordingly decided by the financial commission. But if at all a war or external aggressions happen, then president can modify the constitutional distribution. It can take a lot of money. Center can take a lot of money. It can give less money to the states. Okay. Executive, legislative, and financial. Next. So three categories. During emergency, we have effects of central and state relations. We have discussed this. I will discuss the effects of fundamental rights and effect of Lok Sabha and the State Assembly. Okay. Effect of life of Lok Sabha and State Assembly. See, when the proclamation of national emergency is in operation, the life of the Lok Sabha can be extended beyond the normal term for 1 year at the time. However, this extension cannot continue beyond a period of 6 months after the emergency has ceased to operate. See, during emergency, the term of Lok Sabha has completed 5 years. Okay. So at that point, during emergency of the war, we cannot go for the elections. Okay. So we have some provision. We can extend the life of Lok Sabha by 1 year. Even after 1 year, the war has continuing. Okay. Again, it can be extended by one more year. Okay, like that. Every year the extension can be extended. The term can be extended. So if at all when the war has finished, if the war is over, then the extension cannot continue beyond 6 months. Okay, today the war is finished. If the war is finished by today, by 6 months, the term of the Lok Sabha will be finished. Okay, already we have extended the Lok Sabha of the term of Lok Sabha by 1 year, 1 year. Okay, but as the war has finished by 6 months, the Lok Sabha has, it cannot go beyond 6 months. Okay, they have to go for the elections. Second, similarly, the Parliament can extend the normal tenure of the state legislative assembly by 1 year each time during emergency. So whatever thing is happening in Parliament, the same thing is happening in State Assembly also. Okay, if it is extended by 1 year in Lok Sabha, it has to be extended 1 year in State Assembly. Okay, so if you consider the internal emergency of 1975, the election, the term got extended by 2 years. Okay, 1971 to 1970, sorry, 1978. Okay, sorry, 1977. The term was extended by 2 years during the Indira Gandhi time, during the time of internal emergency. Okay, so this provision also available in our Indian Constitution. Next, effect of fundamental duties, fundamental rights. Okay, students, this is also very important. Okay, effect of fundamental rights. See, Articles 358 and 359 describe the effects of a national emergency on the fundamental rights. What are the provisions in which the fundamental rights are getting, affected? These two articles will describe the suspension of fundamental rights under Article 19. Okay, according to Article 358, when a proclamation of national emergency is made, the six fundamental rights under Article 19 are automatically suspended. Okay, Article 19 is automatically revived after the expiry of the emergency. Okay, our Parliament doesn't need any special resolution, to curtail the fundamental rights. If you once the emergency was declared by the president, automatically the Article 19, okay, suspend automatically it suspends. Okay, the 44th Amendment Act laid out of the article can be suspended by the national emergency. It is laid on the grounds of the war, external aggression, and not in the case of armed rebellion. See, earlier it was told that under Article 19, when the emergency was declared, Article 19 was automatically get suspended. But in 44th Amendment Act, the article can be suspended only when the national emergency is laid on the grounds of war and external aggression, not in the case of armed rebellion. See, we have three kinds of emergencies, as I told you earlier. National emergency declared on the war or external aggression. Third is internal disturbances. Okay. This Article 19 gets curtailed only through the external aggression and war on the both on two grounds only. Okay. But if the emergency is declared on armed rebellion, okay, there is no provision that Article 19 has to be automatically suspended. Okay, this is a very important thing you have to remember. Suspension of other fundamental rights. Under Article 359, the president is authorized to suspend by the order the right to move any court for the enforcement of fundamental rights during national emergency. Okay, see, the president is authorized to suspend by order the right to move any court for the enforcement of fundamental rights during national emergency. Thus, remedial measures are suspended and not the fundamental rights. See, suspension of other fundamental rights. Okay, there is a provision that, see, automatically if there is a war or external aggression, Article 19, okay, is completely curtailed. See, there is a provision that we cannot approach courts that your fundamental rights are getting affected. Okay, there is a provision that you cannot approach courts if your fundamental rights get approved. The suspension of the enforcement rights, the suspension of enforcement relates to only those fundamental rights that are specified in the presidential order. The suspension could be for the period of during the operation or the emergency for the shorter period. Suspension of other fundamental rights. The order should be laid before each house of the parliament for the approval. The 44th Amendment Act mandates the president cannot suspend the right to move the court or the enforcement of fundamental rights guaranteed by Article 2021. See, earlier we have studied that if your fundamental rights are getting affected, you cannot approach courts. But here, okay, if you consider Article 20 and 21, sorry, if you consider Articles 20, 21, if these two articles are getting affected, okay, you can directly approach court. For any other fundamental right, you cannot approach courts. Okay, but for these two rights, especially for these two rights, Article 20 and 21, you can approach any court, not High Court, any court. Okay, okay. Declarations made so far. The first proclamation of national emergency is issued by 1962. Okay, on the Chinese aggression in the northern northeast frontier agency was in the first till 1968, and second is the 1971 India-Pakistan War and national emergency 1975. Okay, in the beginning of the class, I have told we have three emergencies declared so far. First thing is 1962 Indo-Chinese War. Second is Indo-Pak War 1971. Third is 1975, most controversial emergency of all time, 1975. Okay, both these are declared on war, and this thing is declared on internal disturbances. Later, these internal disturbances was replaced with armed rebellion. So, students, so far we have discussed the emergency of the Indian Constitution. Okay, what are the provisions of emergency? How it is proclaimed? How it is revocated? How the state and central relations get affected during emergency? Okay, in that state and central relations, we have executive, okay, legislative, okay, and fundamental rights. Okay, how the things emergency affects the state and relations, and finally the impact of fundamental rights. Okay, this topic is very very important for the state PCS as well as the uh, UPSC examination. Okay, thank you, students. We'll meet with another topic.